Hey traders, welcome back to another profit and loss recap video. Today is Wednesday, November 29th. I just finished up trading for the morning. I had one really solid trade today with the stock RDHL. The stock has had a ton of momentum lately over the past few trading days. And today I short sold it and locked in $1,361 in profits on this trade. So stay tuned through this video. We're going to talk about why I decided to short sell this in the first place. And I'm going to break down my entry points and my exit points for this trade. That being said, if you want to hear about the stocks that I'm trading in real time and get access to trade alerts and detailed trade plans, all of that can be found in the Market Master group. There's going to be a link down below in the description for you to get signed up. So again, like I just mentioned, RDHL has had a ton of momentum lately over the past few trading days. We can see that on Monday of this week, it was trading at just 30 cents per share. And today in pre-market, it hit a high of $4.10. So it's gone up over 1,000% just in the past few trading days alone. On top of that, the daily RSI is currently at 94, which is extremely overbought. Anytime the RSI is over 70, it's technically considered to be overbought. So 94 is definitely severely overbought. And although that's not necessarily an indicator to sell or to short sell on its own, it is a good indicator that the stock is due for some sort of pullback in the near future. So that being said, this was in the trade plans in the Market Master group last night for an opportunity to short sell today on Wednesday. And if we go ahead and just review these trade plans, I said another massive run and sick continuation from the previous day's plans. With this going from 30 cents to $3 in 2 trading days, it's time to start looking for a reversal in my opinion, as it would be very risky to chase at these levels. That being said, it's also risky to short into this kind of momentum, so I'll be looking for some bearish signals Wednesday before shorting. Ideally, we'll get a morning rejection candle or some false breakouts, and then this will start fading back under $2 per share. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind. I was looking to short sell this, but mind you, I was not looking to just blindly short sell because it was up such a significant amount, because that's a very risky way to trade these types of stocks. You don't want to short sell into that strong momentum without having some kind of plan in mind. So with all of that being said, to kind of update the traders in the group, this morning at 9:25 a.m., 5 minutes before the market opened, I posted that RDHL likely squeezed out most of the shorts in pre-market on the pop to $4.10. Now will most likely sell off without retesting pre-market highs in my opinion. So per last night's trade plans, this will be a top watch for me this morning to short sell. At that time, it was trading at $2.93. And if we take a look here at the chart, I'll start to break down where I was entering this trade and where I had my risk levels placed. And first and foremost, I entered into a starter position here as it was starting to bounce back up into the VWAP here pretty much right away at the open about 10 minutes later. So I ended up on that initial position having 2,000 shares at about $2.97, I believe. And as far as my risk goes on this trade, this was a relatively risky trade, and I knew that while I was getting into it. But at the same time, it was a risk that was worth taking, in my opinion, because there was definitely potential to make a big profit on this trade. So I was risking initially about $2,000 on this trade since I had 2,000 shares short from right around $3 per share. And I was using that pre-market high area up here around 4 as my risk level. So if it started to squeeze back up and it was looking like it was going to squeeze to new highs, I was going to have to cut losses up here around $4 per share. Now, with that being said, I was only looking to add into this position once it started to validate my thought process and once it started to show some signs of weakness. And once we got a rejection here from the VWAP and it started to pull back underneath, on top of that, we get this big rejection candle that happened about 10 minutes prior. So I ended up adding 5,000 more shares into this trade under 290 once it was starting to confirm my thought process and starting to show more weakness. At the same time, because I was initially risking all the way up to $4 per share, I of course didn't want to have to risk that far away with 7,000 total shares now in this position. So I moved my stop loss significantly down, and I was probably going to end up cutting losses around $3.50 if this happened to start squeezing through that area. But fortunately, I was able to lock in some really solid profits on this trade once we get this nice big sell-off to the downside here under $2.50. At the same time, if we take a quick look at the Market Master group, I posted that it was starting to dump and I was locking in a portion of my profits here in the 240s. I actually ended up getting filled in the low 250s, I believe at about $2.52, because it did not hold under 250 for long enough to get filled. But as far as why I was locking in profits, first and foremost, I had a pretty big position size here. So naturally, as the trade is moving in my favor, I'm going to be locking in profits and reducing my risk, taking some shares off of the trade. And on top of that, we can see there is a nice spike in volume here once we get this big candle to the downside. These big spikes in volume and these big candlesticks are often indicators that the stock is going to temporarily reverse. They can be a sign of seller exhaustion. And from there, I ended up moving my stop loss down from that 350 area down to right around the high of day, because I knew that if it did start to squeeze back up to the high of day, stopping out at the high of day would keep my loss on those remaining shares pretty small. And I knew that my profits that I locked in on this sell-off down here would be more than enough to cover those losses. And pretty much that is exactly what ended up happening. It did kind of chop around here for a little bit. Everything was still looking relatively good. It was still in a downtrend. We do start to get this higher low that formed here around 260. That could have been a red flag, and that could have been a good indicator to lock in the rest of my profits, but unfortunately I did not, and it ended up squeezing straight through VWAP here just in a single minute from $2.76 all the way up to $3.28. So it was very quick. Fortunately, again, I did have that stop loss placed up here around the high of day. I stopped out on the remainder of my shares, and on that portion of this trade, I lost $494, but because of the profits that I locked in on the sell-off in the 250 area, I was still able to make $1,361 in profits overall on this trade with RDHL. Now, another very important lesson here that I want to talk about is the fact that I did stop out at the high of day. Even though it did end up coming straight back down and I could have made much more on this trade overall, it could have just as easily opened up around 350 and squeezed all the way up to 4 within just another single minute. And at that point, I would have ended up giving back all of the profits that I had already locked in, and this trade would have probably turned into an overall losing trade. So that's why it's very important to stick to your risk levels, manage your risk, and slowly make some adjustments throughout the trade as the price action is starting to change a bit. So aside from that, there were a few other decent opening range breakouts that we had this morning from the Market Master Group. So for example, the opening range breakout level for VVOS was $12.70. This was one of the top percent gainers going into the market open today. And if we take a quick look at the chart for VVOS, we can see from $12.70, we end up getting a really solid opening range breakout that happens a little bit later in the morning, right around 10:40, so about an hour or so after the market open. We get that reclaim of the VWAP. We get a nice pop in the volume as it's pushing through that opening range breakout level, spikes up into a halt, and then continues to squeeze higher. So far, it has ran about $7 higher from that breakout level. So there was definitely some solid potential profits to be made there. Another one was WHLR. The opening range breakout level on this one was exactly 50 cents. This has had a lot of momentum lately over the past few trading days. So if we get another gap up today and then an opening range breakout, that's automatically going to make this a good candidate for a breakout trade. And as we can see, it does push through that opening range breakout level and climbs up to a high of 65 cents, which is about 30% higher from that breakout level. So again, just like VVOS, there was some really solid potential profits on this trade as well. And I just want to give a few quick shout outs. Frisky locked in $2.74 per share in profit on the VVOS trade. And we had K-Man, who was able to lock in some profits, reaching his daily goal on WHLR. So nice job, guys. Keep up the good work. It's great to see our team of traders locking in some profits on these trades as well. Anyway, with all of that being said, those were my main focuses for the day. Again, I only had one trade with RDHL, and I locked in $1,361 in profits. I hope you found some value in this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you want to hear about these stocks that I'm trading in real time, and you want to work with our team of traders, get access to our day trade and swing trade alerts, our detailed trade plans, our live custom scanner streams, and so on and so forth, all of that can be found in the Market Master group. There's going to be a link down below in the description for you to get signed up. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck with your trading.